Welcome back to MLive's Dungeon of Doom podcast. I'm Ben Raven. He is Kory Woods. Kory, how you doing?
Uh, I'm here.
Yeah, Kory's going through a little sickness right now. He's battling through. And the Lions are going to have to battle through like him through these next three games because there is no margin of error down the stretch after they lost 41-34 to the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium. A lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of playoff paths to talk about. I think it's fair to say that they no longer control their own destiny because every scenario, even with them going 3-0, requires a little bit of help, man.
Yeah, with the way that they started that game, I'm like, okay, maybe they are taking. I don't want to say they weren't taking it seriously before, but maybe they're just like, okay, they're playing with a sense of urgency that I haven't seen out of them in a while, and I just have no idea what happened when they went in at halftime and came back out because it did not look like the same team at all.
No, it didn't. The rushing attack wasn't elite in the first half, but it was completely lifeless in the second half, and it really just put them in a hole. I mean, all of a sudden they're up 24-14 with 30 seconds left in the first half. The Rams get a late field goal. The Lions go 3-and-out on the first three possessions to start the second half, and the Rams just keep scoring. And all of a sudden, it goes from 24-14 to 34-24 in the blink of an eye. I mean, that one, they weren't able to run in the second half. They fell behind the sticks. They got one-dimensional because they had to. And while the passing game was clicking, led by Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, and a very, very good game from Jared Goff, but it wasn't enough. It just wasn't enough because we're here talking about the weaknesses we expected to be talking about. The offensive line was not great. I mean, Goff was protected, but the running lanes were not there. The Rams kept everything in front of them. The Lions had one 10-yard run, and it came in the first half. I mean, 20 rushes for 70 yards. Gibbs only 38 yards on 13 attempts, a 2.9 average. That ain't going to work. But the defense got absolutely tore apart in that second half. It wasn't great in the first half either, but I just, man, you're losing you lose Brian Branch, you're missing Kirby Joseph, you're missing Terrion Arnold, you're missing Thomas Harper, and without your top three safeties and your CB2 against Stafford, Nakua, and Devontae Adams, that's a nightmare, and that's exactly what happened. That nightmare became reality.
That's exactly what I was scared of. I've been talking about it all week. I was scared of what this secondary was going to look like against red hot Matthew Stafford. And I'm just going to give you some stats. The line over these past four games, the Lions have given up 1,377 passing yards and 10 passing touchdowns. In three of the last four games, opposing QBs have had at least 360 passing yards.
Dude, I'm looking at a stat that Russell Brown pulled up. In four games, they've allowed 1,800 total yards, 129 points. That means they're giving up 32.25 points per game and 453 total yards of offense in their last four games. Oh my
And
God.
you know what? I understand that, you
Goodness
know,
gracious.
I understand that you are devoid some players in your secondary. I understand that you've had some issues generating the pass rush, but this is not acceptable because putting putting up 34 points should be enough to win a game. And it just we're going to talk about the interior offensive line play, but just a couple of stops here and there, just not allowing Stafford to rip you apart on some of those deep shots. You're playing a different you're in a different game. We're probably having a different conversation. And just one more thing I want to kind of quickly touch on. I think that there needs to be a conversation about DJ Reed. I just don't think that he's looked really good since coming back. He looked a step slow. I know that he said that he looked needed to get some another game to get back up under him. He's a little bit slower, but I mean right now you're not at that luxury. If you're not really where you need to be, I know as a competitor you want to be out there, but I mean that hamstring, he did not look slow. He did not look fast out there. On that one shot, I believe with the Nakua, he tripped on his own feet, and it just I don't know what Shepard's gonna do. I just really don't. I know he said that their guys are not just going to be able to be in the starting lineup just because they're a starter. You got to earn your keep. But I'm wondering, not necessarily that he isn't earning his keep. Is he the best option right now based off of his health?
There were a couple times today where I kind of looked down press row here at SoFi and was like, "Is Reed healthy?" Is because it's just like he's just not the same player that we saw before the injury earlier this season. I mean, he's had a couple nice moments here and there, but like it's been a really, really bad 4 game stretch for him. It has not been a Meek Robertson's year, and I know that they've asked a lot out of him, moving from slot outside, switching back and forth, but like entering this game, NFL Pro had him allowing the league high 50 catches across 80 targets in coverage. He had a chance at a pick today, but he got picked apart. And the safeties weren't helping him because every time Stafford ran a play action fake, even when he ran that Patton Stafford play action fake where he's faking a handoff to nobody, the tight ends were wide open. He was rolling out, or Nakua was wide open across the middle, or he took a shot to Devontae Adams on those turkey hole Patton and Stafford throws. That's, I just the Rams go 3 of 3 on 4th down. So like even when the Lions stop them on 3rd down, they still delivered the big blow. And I just Reed does not look right. Robertson's having a tough. And like I'm with you. Like maybe he's not right. Maybe they need to look elsewhere. But I'm looking at their roster and I'm like, what the hell else do they got left in the secondary? Like, do you want a Legion or Human down the stretch? Because it's like, I mean, you got Avonte Maddox, Eric Hallett, and Daniel Thomas, who has been a career special teamer, playing as your primary safeties in this game. And everything that we were kind of worried about on Thursday kind of came to fruition because it's pretty wild that how St. Brown and JMO and Goff played. I mean, Goff threw for 338 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, only got sacked once. St. Brown had 13 catches, 164 yards, 2 touchdowns. JMO now has 3 straight games with a career high 7 catches. He goes off for 134 and a touchdown, but there was nobody else. Khalif Raymond was the only other receiver who caught a pass, 20 yards. Gibbs was battled to 20 yards on 4 catches. I expected when John Morton was talking about this probably needing to be a dink and dunk game just by the way the Rams play, I really expected more from Gibbs in the passing attack. And that's not me talking about Gibbs. I think the Lions really needed to bank on that. Now, obviously, they had a lot of success on the passing attack, but I'm talking about that second half.
Yeah, it was.
When you can't run, you've got to find ways to get him the ball, and it just wasn't happening.
Yeah, that was just really weird to me because I'm like, okay, he's bottled up. You can't get anything to him. Why not go to the bread and butter that has been working? You guys have been throughout the entire season have found creative ways to get the ball in Gibbs' hand. I just do not understand the lack of touches that he had. I mean, he's been your quasi third receiver all year. So I just didn't get it. But I mean, I it was a weirdly called second half for me, but I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll hear more from Dan about how much the interior offensive line play may have affected that, or what the looks that the Rams are giving them. Because I mean, whatever, like, again, whatever, it was like a tale of two halves. The Rams came out that third quarter and they just pressured the heck out of them. And I believe it was I can't remember his name. You know, forgive me guys, but one of the Rams players after the game, he was just like, they gave us a taste of what we've been giving the teams all year, and we didn't like it. So we're like, oh, okay, bet we're gonna come back out. We're gonna come back out and basically flip the script, and that's what they did.
The Rams, they just turned all of those 3 and outs. I mean, they turned the 3 and out into a touchdown. They turned a 3 and out into the touchdown. Yes, they punted on the third 3 and out, but that field goal before the half and then the score late in the fourth quarter just the Lions just stubbed their toes so much. And the the stat I pulled up after the game that just kind of slapped me across the face, the Lions have run for fewer than 100 yards 5 times this season. They are 0-5 in those games. There is just something about this offense when they aren't running the ball. There was no boom or bust today. It was all bust for the most part, besides one 10-yard run for Gibbs in the first half. When they can't run the ball, when they can't get into better situations on 3rd down, This is, especially when you're missing Sam Laporta and you're only throwing to Goff and St. Brown and Williams. Like it gets one dimensional. It almost gets a little bit predictable. And I know St. Brown and Williams had big days, but that offense was rough in the second half. I mean, it really was. They had a chance to go into halftime up 10 points, and back to the defensive struggles. The defense, my to give up that field goal before the half, 5 plays, 47 yards to set up a field goal in 30 seconds, and then they started at their own 19-yard line with 30 seconds, and they still found a way to get in field goal range. Cut it to 7 points. Boom, get a field goal up in the second half. Boom, get a touchdown. Get a touchdown. All of a sudden, Lions are down by 10, just like that. And this is just not a Rams team you want to fall behind. And I just to go back to the Gibbs pass catcher point, I lost my train of thought. West Coast time does that to me. Um, the I just went back. When I was doing my research this week, I looked at that 49ers Rams game and how Christian McCaffrey ate the Rams alive in the passing attack. And it was like, man, there was a formula there. You should have found out pretty early in that second half. You know what? The Rams have changed something. They have completely taken the run away. Let's use Gibbs as a pass catcher. They had Gibbs and Montgomery on the field at the same time a lot more today, but it just didn't do much with it. That was a really frustrating game. I'm not shocked that they lost this game, but I'm shocked at kind of how they lost it just because of how well the offense was looking, how electric the passing attack was, how locked in Goff, St. Brown, and Williams were for most of the game. But just you're not going to beat teams like this when you can't run the ball and when your defense is getting absolutely shredded the way they were today. I mean, the Rams run 29 times for 160, 3 touchdowns. Stafford throws for 368. That's 3 times in 4 weeks. The Lions have allowed a 300-yard passer after not allowing one through their first 10 games this season. Stafford throws 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Hell of a play by Aiden Hutchinson in the first quarter. And I got to be honest, after the Lions missed that opening field goal, Hutch gets that interception to set up the game opening touchdown. I'm like, all right, that is how this team wins this game. But then you look at the depth chart and what they're currently rocking on defense, and they don't have the horses on defense right now. And when you take away Hutchinson as a pass rusher, this defense just doesn't have the juice to get there. Ugh, Stafford, man, that was such a vintage Stafford performance. The sidearm, the flick of the wrist. I mean, he was feeling it. Oof.
I believe that he essentially sealed his MVP today. It's pretty much his to lose. But just to go back to DJ Reed for a second, I'm on Pro Football Reference. They have not updated it from today's game, everybody. So I just want to put that out there. But in the last two games, in the last two games,
Scared to hear it.
he had. So you're scared. In the past two games, quarterbacks have completed 72.2% of their passes for 159 yards. Reed has been targeted 18 times, 13 of them have been completed.
Oh, and that's your CB1 right now, and it's clear he's just not right, or he's just not all the way back. And unfortunately for him and the Lions, they need him to be the player he was the first month of the season for that hamstring injury. Because I'll just say, I mean, Branch is out for the season. Harper should be back. He had a chance to play this weekend, but was ruled out yesterday on Saturday. I don't think Kirby Joseph's walking through that door for the rest of the season, and I just they've already been piecing together the secondary on the fly, and it was pretty solid for a minute there. The Legion of Whom was a great story for a minute there, and some of those guys have found a place here on the roster and stuck. But I mean, I think you saw what happens to this defense without Brian Branch, and I think you already saw what Kirby Joseph's absence was doing to Brian Branch, and then you take away your Swiss Army knife, and you're playing career special teamers, guys off the practice squad, and I don't know, man, they just don't have that statement win this year. I it's one of those weird situations where you believe, you see the path. Yes, I could fully see this team going 3-0 and somehow making the playoffs, but 5-5 in their last 10 games. The defense is missing pieces. You're missing pieces on offense. The offensive line hasn't played up to the standard this year, and they've struggled against most of the teams that they would see in potentially the first round of the playoffs. Like, I mean, what is their statement win this season? The win over the Ravens way back when, or the win over the Cowboys? Like, that's great and all, but like, they just haven't been able to string together wins, and to sit here and talk about how they need to go 3-0 when they haven't won back-to-back games since beating the Browns and the Bengals in weeks 4 and 5. I the results are telling me another thing than what my mind is telling me is still possible.
Yeah, we know what we know that the Chiefs had their struggles this season, but at the end of the day, they were still the Chiefs when they played them. Same thing with the Philadelphia Eagles. They had struggles. They're still the Eagles. Lions didn't beat them, and those are marquee opponents. Then this is another marquee game. They lost. You can say Dallas was a big game, but I would say I don't really want to say that was a big game. That was more so of a game that they just showed up when the chips were on the line. But when against three opponents that I would say were juggernauts, you lost to them. And for a team that has been flipping back and forth between wins and losses the way they've had, again, I'm gonna bring it back up. Panay Sewell said that this is not a sustainable way for them to reach the postseason, and now we're seeing it. So right now, I cannot in good faith say that this team is going to make the playoffs because we have not seen them be able to string along 2 consecutive wins since October. And
The first week of October. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like I just can't sit up here and say, hey, this is a playoff team. Will this team finish with a winning record? I absolutely believe that's going to happen, but a playoff spot, it's it's too much that has to go in their favor for that to happen. I believe their chances right now drop down to 34%. Nah,
New York
it's
Times and NFL Network are a
yeah,
little split, but it's around that. Yeah.
yeah. I just don't see it happening. I mean, I think they would have had a shot of I think their chances would have been a lot higher had the Bears lost today. But I mean, I didn't see the Bears losing to the Browns, so that was a moot point right there. Um, does Green Bay fall off of off of a steep cliff now that Micah Parsons is reportedly have the ACL injury? Who knows? But like you said, again, they still need so much help to get into the postseason, along with needing to win 3 straight games when they have not shown they can win back to back
Yeah.
recently. So it's just too much.
I know. I think to put the playoff situation in perspective, they have to go 3-0. The Bears have to the Bears have to lose one of their next 2 games before that week 8 showdown. Or with a 3-0 finish, they need the Packers to lose 2 out of their last 3 games. Another update here with the Lions' loss to the Rams. The 49ers have clinched the tiebreaker over the Lions based on NFC records, so that's another tough pill to swallow. Just the window went from propped open with that win over the Cowboys to not being able to afford another loss while needing help. I mean, Dan Campbell even talked about that after the game. He said, I hope there's no sulking, but I hope this ticks them off and rubs them the wrong way. And we're a resilient bunch, and I believe that. And while that's all the right things to say, it just keeps coming back to like, I cannot, in good faith, sit here and say, yeah, this team no doubt is going to win 3 straight. Can they? Absolutely. It starts with the Pittsburgh Steelers, then it's Christmas at the Vikings, and then we'll see. Week 18 has a lot of winner take all potential to it, but it's got to be 3-0. You need the 49ers or the Packers to beat the Bears before week 18, or you need the Packers to lose 2 out of 3 just to open the door. I just. And after getting swept by the Packers, I know the Packers have that weird tie, which actually could come to help the Lions. But like, I don't know, man. I just when people were like, "Man, if the Lions beat the Rams, there's a path to the number 1 seed," and I'm like, "Yeah, technically that's true, but like, you got to win 2 straight before you can even talk about that because this team remains outside of the playoff picture." I think they've lost a little too much on both sides of the ball, especially in the secondary. The loss of Sam Laporta and Brock Wright is just monumental, especially the Laporta one, because that just makes the passing attack a little more one dimensional. You know where it's going, especially when you're not targeting Gibbs like we have seen in recent weeks. So it's just, I don't know, man. And I was talking with our boss Josh after the game, and it's like hilarious that no, the Lions can't be officially eliminated next weekend, but Aaron Rodgers coming to town for likely his last trip to Ford Field with a chance to end the season is just kind of nightmare inducing.
Yeah, like you guys ended my tenure in
Right.
Green Bay. It would be like we like to say in don't get mad at me, Josh. In our wrestling lore, long-term booking for Aaron Rodgers to come back and ruin the Lions' playoff chances, and it's pretty much his final trip.
It's like, holy crap, Aaron Rodgers and Adam Thielen in the year 2025. Like, I know the Steelers aren't like a juggernaut the way the Rams are today, but like, they're still in the mix to win the AFC North. I mean, I know the Vikings are what they are right now, all their offensive struggles, but like, it wasn't the Vikings offense that beat the Lions in week 9. It was that defense, and that Lions interior offensive line is still a question mark.
No, so now looking at Green Bay's schedule, they have the Bears, so that second matchup is coming this Saturday. Week after, they have the Ravens, and then they close the season out against the Vikings. So, I mean, you know,
I know. And
mm,
just Cologne had a really rough day. Didn't see as much Frazier at left guard today. I believe he got in for a series, maybe two in the first half. I don't think I saw him in the second half though. Mahogany somehow was questionable entering this weekend. He's playing through or trying to practice through a fibula injury just to make it back for the late season push. So while getting Mahogany back, would you give you your original starting five back? That's asking a lot. That's asking a lot.
I don't want to be negative Nancy, but I mean, it just might be that their number is up this season based on the amount of injuries they had. And I know we're probably going to get into this talk throughout the week, but this is going to be a long off season, not necessarily for Dan Campbell, but I think this is going to be a long off season for Brad Holmes because Dan can only coach with the pieces that he has, but there's a question if he had enough depth, quality depth, adequate depth to be able to just to be able to last around a season because I mean, so many guys went down, and you did not have the quality depth to be able to bring in there. You're having to go poach guys off practice squads, other teams' practice squad, getting guys off waiver wires, bringing back players who have checkered injury history. This is going to be a long offseason for Brad, where he's going to have to look in the mirror and or not necessarily look in the mirror where when we have our end of season talk with him, he's going to have to answer a lot of these questions differently than he did last time.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you're going to get a lot of the same questions because a lot of the same problems are still there. And you need a long term answer at center because I don't know. We'll see what they do with Tate Ratledge, but I think he's best suited for guard.
I honestly hope they just leave Tater guard and just go either draft a center, draft it if you want to draft. If they drafted the center in the first round, I don't think anybody in Detroit would be mad.
Nope.
But draft a center, or if there is somebody that's out there in free agency that you can get or trade for, pull the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, you need offensive line help. You need a long term tackle with Taylor Decker injury season and going into the back end of his career, and we'll see what happens there. But you need to plan for the future at tackle. You need to plan for the future and the present at center and potentially guard, no matter whatever you see out of Ratledge there. I know Brad Holmes still thought he could be the long term center. Like you and I just said, keep him at guard, figure something out, get a center. This team is not the same without Frank Ragnow. You need to look at long-term safety help just because of Kirby Joseph's knee. We don't know when Brian Branch will be back from an Achilles injury. The defensive line and pass rush has been so boom or bust this season. You need another pass rusher. You need to look at everything because it's been a pretty quiet stretch for Aleem McNeil since his return. And the Lions have been getting beat up on the ground too. Some, like I said, it's been boom or bust. It's very boom, very great, or it's very bust, very bad, like it was today. I just you can't keep brushing off the pass rusher stuff. You can't keep banking your short and long term future on injury riddled guys like Anzarike and Pascal and Marcus Davenport. Like, you can't just make fun of us for asking about edge rushers. It's a clear need. You've got to take the long term concerns at safety seriously, because look at what happened today without Branch and Joseph. It was a nightmare on the back end. It's been really bad. You've got your two first and second round picks from what was it, the 2024 draft, dealing with season ending shoulder injuries. So it's just, there's a lot of questions. Obviously, we don't know much about Sam Laporta's back surgery, but whenever I hear back surgery, I don't get warm and fuzzy feelings in my stomach. So there's some
Yeah,
really,
because it's back.
yeah, exactly, man. I just, there's a, yeah, one quote from Dan Campbell as we get out of here that really stuck with me is, "We got a taste and a sight at what the top of the NFC looks like this season," and that's them pointing to the Rams. And it's just, as good as I feel about these Lions and their long term outlook and Dan Campbell as a head coach, which are still inside of me, it's just not clicking this year. There's something off. There's something different. I I know we've said it 3 times, but not winning back to back games since week 4 and 5, you're not going to make the playoffs. You're not going to scare anybody in the playoffs with that, because you're such a streaky team. And just this is a game. I know this loss could turn out to mean nothing based on what happens with the Bears and Packers, and if the Lions do run the table or at least win the next two and have a chance in Week 18 in Chicago to win or go home. This game might not mean something, but to me it means something, because we got to see the Lions go against the league's best team, and they blew a 10-point lead with 30 seconds left in the first half to find themselves down 10 on the other side just in the blink of an eye. I just, it's the inconsistencies, and it's just the fact that they are running out of options at the safety depth, the tight end depth, the offensive line situation. It's just not where it's been in recent years. Some of that's their own doing. Some of that was out of their control with the injuries. But, like, I don't know, man. They still have the offensive firepower to beat anybody. But, like, the offensive firepower was on, minus the rushing attack, was thriving today. And they didn't have enough. So, I don't know, man. I just, you even get a big play from Hudson to swing the game, and it's still just not enough.
Yeah, you got the turnover, you had a couple stops here and there, and you capitalized on some of it, but it just was not enough. I mean, you cannot let the Rams score 20 unanswered points. That just cannot happen. You can't go goose egg in the third quarter in a road game like that. So
It's become the norm the way it's been going the last whatever. It's the time of year where I don't know how long it's been, but it feels like a month, whatever that 4 game stretch has been. But yeah. All right, let's get out of here. Lions host the Pittsburgh Steelers back at Ford Field for what could be the last home game of the season. Then it's on the road on Christmas in Minnesota, and it's on the road in Chicago, which could still be for all the marbles. But Bears got to win, or excuse me, Bears got to lose one out of the next two, or the Packers got to lose 2 out of the next 3 to make that Week 18 game mean what it could mean. There's no margin for error. The Lions do not control their own destiny. They need a little help. And that's no matter the injuries, no matter the coaching changes, no matter whatever you want to point at as the thing that sticks in your side the most, that is a very disappointing outcome for a back-to-back division title winner, built for long-term success, and a team that won 15 games as the number 1 seed last season. Like, this is, we talked about regression before the season started. Our regression was 11 or 12 wins, not this.
yeah, and I'm telling you right now, it's going to sting even worse if that final game at Soldier Field, they're rocking NFC North championship hats.
I mean, think about the next 3 games. Aaron Rodgers, JJ McCarthy, and Brian Flores, or Ben Johnson. And it's like, oh God. Yeah. So we'll see what happens there.
That's almost like a revenge tour for all of those guys.
Oh my God. Yep, Lions are 8-6. Lose to the Rams 41-34. It's gonna be tough to make it. It's not over yet, but they gotta win 3 straight, and they haven't won 3 straight since the weather was a lot warmer back in September / early October. And I still, like I said, I still believe in Dan Campbell and I still believe in Brad Holmes, but change is gonna have to happen with how Holmes approaches this offseason. This team's in a different spot. The expectations are higher. The offensive line needs a fully reinvestment to make that thing click, and you got a couple long-term injury concerns that might need help too, and that's not a great spot to be in. They're still alive, but it's hanging by a thread, man. But yeah, we'll be back with the Mailbag podcast on Thursday. Please send questions and voice memos to John.
Oh, I think this is going to be a big one.
I think so too. I hope so. So if you're listening to this right now, you don't have to wait until we put out a call on social media. Send your questions, voice memos or written questions, dungeonofdoom@mlive.com. We are your Dungeon of Doom podcast. I'm Ben Raven. He's Kory Woods, and we'll have more for you at mlive.com/lions if you got it in you over the next 24 hours.